All right, so yeah, with Honor Lock, when you click on Honor Lock, now you can see test one comes up. And this is my view, your view is a little different than mine, but you can click on that, it'll give you the test password, and then you can go down to Pearson and click on Pearson and get going on your test. So like I said, Friday it opens at 12 a.m., it closes at 11:59. So you have all Friday to take it. I gave you 90 minutes for you. You're not going to need 90 minutes, but I gave you 90 minutes. It's 21 questions, all multiple choice, all right? You know that you can have a calculator and you can have scratch paper, all right, blank scratch paper. I asked that in the beginning of the test, after you show your ID, just show them your calculator, show them your blank scratch paper so I know it's blank. At the end of the test, just show up your used scratch paper and your calculator again. That's it. Okay? Don't do anything else. If you want to use their whiteboard, you can. I don't like their whiteboard, and I'm not going to look at it. But all right. So anyway, so that's the test. You can also access it. I think you should be able to. Content. If you go to content, if you look down and you find exam 1 items, if you click on that, so I've got Honor Lock instructions, I've got the review, part 1, part 2, and the key, all right? So, and you can click on those to get those. There is a link for the test. Obviously, it won't work because it's not November 13th. It says, something like you dummy. All right, you can't take the test yet. But it's right there as well. But you need to go through Honor Lock, all right? You must click Honor Lock first and do all that stuff. Okay. The review. Let's talk about this. So the test, 21 questions, multiple choice. Okay. The review, I did 2 parts just because I typed 2 separate documents. It doesn't have any meaning to it. My suggestion, it is not for a grade, all right? I feel like in college, you're pretty responsible and should know how to study for a test. With a review, my suggestion to you is when I look at a review, I do not focus on the things I know how to do. That's why I don't collect it for a grade. Because if you know how to do it, there is no reason for you to rehash and repeat it, all right? What you want to do is you want to look at that review and you go, I don't know how to do that. That's what I need to work on. That's what I need to study. So I give you the key so that way you can know, oh, I did all those wrong. I need to maybe go look that up and figure out how to do that, okay? So the review is not a grade. It's for your benefit so you can check yourself and know what you need to work on, okay? Everybody clear on that? Okay. Any questions about just the test, the format, the expectations? Okay. So we're going to review today. We'll probably get through the review. Now, this week is a pretty small week. Because you have a test, I want you to spend your time focusing on the test. But if you look on the course homepage, underneath Honor Lock instructions, there it is. All right. So the test covers everything up to section 4.1, which we'll go through today. It opens up Friday and all that. And then Tuesday, today we're reviewing. Thursday, we will do section 4.2. 4.2 is not on the test. It's more advanced factoring. So it kind of helps for factoring, but it's not on the test, all right? And that's all we have this week because I want you to worry about your test. So there is a 4.2 homework that's due Sunday at midnight as usual. I would not worry about that till after Friday because, you've already, you have to worry about your test, right? Test is one try, multiple choice. All right, and I'll put the review up there, which we'll look at today. And that's that. Okay, so other than your test, the only other thing you have to do this week is section 4.2, okay? That's due Sunday at midnight. All right, everybody clear on that? Okay, there's no discussion forum. Last week I messed up on the discussion forum. I think in this class I made it a forum rather than a discussion, so you couldn't post to it. And I fixed it Sunday night, so I just kind of ignored it and I just made it kind of like an extra credit. So if you're missing some attendance points. Yeah.
It didn't pop up on my action screen like
it did or it did not?
Like I never saw it on this phone.
Yeah, I could never find a discussion forum on mine either. I was looking all over for it.
Was it after Sunday night? Yeah, that's why I messed up. Okay.
Oh no, it was because I emailed about it. Remember?
Yeah, then
So
I fixed it. Okay, now it's up. All right. Yeah, I messed up. So what I did, I just discounted it because I messed up. Because there's a discussion post and a discussion forum, and I actually meant a forum, and I didn't make a post and blah 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 blah. So I got rid of it. All right, so it didn't count for anything. If I'm worried about your grade or your attendance, I emailed you this week. Okay. Make sure you're doing your homework and your quizzes, and make sure that you're coming to class. If I had any kind of concerns, I emailed you, okay? Yeah, and that's about what I'll say about that. I think there's some people that just haven't dropped yet, that's what I can tell. All right,
Professor, do we still have to do the discussion then?
huh?
Do we still have to do it though?
You hear what he said?
He said, do you still have to do the discussion post?
No, don't worry about it. No, whoever asked me that, I didn't get it up until Sunday night, so don't worry about it. Okay, for those that did it, I made it like a point bonus if they had lost points on their attendance. All right, so it's really no big deal. So don't worry about that. That was totally my fault. All right, the joys of technology. All right, so what I want to do today is, am I recording? Make sure I'm recording.
Did you already take attendance, Professor?
I did. I got you, Sam. I noticed that you were in and then you went out and you came back in. So I wrote your name down. I'll take care of that. Okay. I know that you're here. Okay. I don't know. It looked like you went in and then it went out and then you went back in again. So, okay. All right. But I'll take care of that for you. All right. So I have the test review. So the way that you get to the test review, just to make sure you know how to get there, if you go to eCampus, and you are this guys. And if you go to content, find exam 1 items. Exam 1 items. If I click on that, there's the review, part 1, part 2, the part 1, part 2, and the key. So you can check your answers. So the review is there. The test link won't be operational until Friday, obviously, because your test is Friday. Okay. So there it is. All right, and like I said, remember you can have a test and scratch paper on your homework. On the test, I don't care. All right, no notes or cell phones. All right, so I'm going to pull up the review, and my plan is we're going to go through whatever y'all want to go through today. Okay, because if you can do this review, you can do the test. Okay. All right, so remember, my tests cover nothing in the first part of the packet, only the second part, right? Only the algebra stuff. So any of the 1324, you're not going to see on my test. All right. So, and again, this is pretty indicative of what the test looks like. It's just that it's multiple choice. All right, so here's your review. Let me make this a little bigger so y'all can see it. Y'all can see this, right? Online? Yeah, okay. All right, so just to show you some things you might have to do, convert to a percent. Do you remember how to convert a fraction or a decimal to a percent? Just multiply by 100, right? So just to do one of these, if I wanted to convert 5/16 to a percent, well, that's interesting. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right. So all I really have to do is take it and multiply by 100, right? And I would use my calculator, and I wouldn't do anything else. So I do calculator, quit out of that. I do 5/16 times 100. And that would give me now 31.25%, right? Okay, that's all I need to do, right? Okay, do you want me to go with any of the other number 1 ones? Do you want me to go over? No?
We've ever seen.
C, sure. So C is a decimal, so it's still the same thing. I take 0.40423, right? And I multiply by 100 to get a percent. So I just take my calculator. And I get 4.23%, right? Okay, so that's all we need to do. All right, is that okay? All right. All right, so converting to a decimal, you should be able to convert a fraction to a decimal or a percent to a decimal. So with a fraction, you just take the top divided by the bottom. So if I do 2/3, I can do 2 divided by 3 on my calculator. I get 0.667, right? Just round it. All right. So I just do 2 divided by 3. I get 0.667. All right, with percentages, do you know how to convert those to a decimal? Right, just divide by 100 rather than multiply, right? So if I wanted to convert 8.25% to a decimal, I divide by 100. You can use your calculator if you need to. And I get 0.0825. Okay, is that all right? That's kind of easy stuff, right? Writing decimals as fractions. Do you know how to do that with your calculator? Remember? So you're going to pretty much just use your calculator. 0.24, you would just type it, right? And then we hit math, frac, math 1. And there it is, 6/25. Okay, so math frac gives you reduced fractions. You know, with 32%, what I'm going to do is take 32 and divide it by 100, and then I'm going to do math frac again on my calculator. All right. So on my calculator, I do 32 divided by 100, and you can hit math frac. All right, I get 8/25. All right. So let the calculator do the part of reducing the fractions for you, right? All right, is that all right? Okay, now, a big thing we did was exponents, all right? Before I work these problems, let's review the exponent rules we covered. So we did anything to the 0 is 1, right? That's easy. Okay. We did x to the a times x to the b. What do you do with the exponents when you multiply?
Add 'em.
Add 'em. So it's x to the a plus b. We did division. With division, you simply subtract them. We did a power to a power. So x to the a raised to the b. That's where you multiply them, right? We had this thing where if I have two things and I'm taking a product and I'm taking it to the third power, I can just distribute it through, right? That was another exponent rule. Oh yeah, and then I have negative exponents. Remember, what do we do with negative exponents?
Make it into a fraction.
Right, turn into a fraction, right? It's on top, it goes to the bottom. It's on the bottom, it goes to the top, right? Mathematicians don't like negative exponents. So we make it that 1 over x to the a. If I had 1 over x to the negative a, it's on the bottom. I pull it up to the top. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I got all the exponent rules there. Yeah. Okay. And I think those are the sum total of the exponent rules that we covered. Okay. The one thing you want to keep in mind with exponents is this little PEMDAS thing. Remember that you do parentheses first, then exponents, then multiplication, division, then addition, subtraction. That's kind of the order of operations, right? In particular with the exponents, you do the exponent applies to whatever's before it. All right. So I have a whole list of exponential problems here. What ones would you like me to go over?
B,
Did you say B as in boy?
dog, D as in dog.
All right, sounds like a good choice, right? That looks scary, right? Okay. Now, if it were me, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm thinking 32 to the negative 4/5. Look, that's just a number, right? So I could plug that into the calculator. Why not, right? It's just a number. So I'm going to plug it into the calculator. So I'm going to just take 32 and I'm going to raise it to the negative 4/5. And I get a decimal. So I'm going to hit math frac. And I get 1/16. All right. So that scary looking thing is just 1/16. All right. So I'm going to replace that with 1/16. So what I have is 7x to the 2/5 times 1/16 times x to the 3/5, right? Now, the numbers just multiply. So 7 times 1/16, this is like 7 over 1. So when the tops multiply, the bottoms multiply. So the numbers multiply to 7 over 16. Okay. I dealt with it. I got the numbers done. All right. Now I'm going to deal with the x's. So what do I do with the exponents here?
You add them.
Add them, right? Now, if you're not comfortable adding fractions, you can still use the calculator. Okay. But basically, I have to add 2/5 to 3/5. So what's 2/5 plus 3/5? Okay, if you struggle, use the calculator. Huh?
Is it 1?
Yeah, it's 1, right? It's 5/5. 1, right? Yay. All right. So I know that they add to 1. So all these just add to 1. So it's x to the first power. I don't really need the 1, right? So it's 7x over 16. That would be my answer, right? Okay. Now they could also have written this like 7/16 times x. That's the same thing, right? Okay. Is that all right? Okay, what other ones of these do you want me to do?
E,
E? Okay, yeah, E looks scary. I think I got some room down here. All right. So if I do this one, now you have options. You can take the negative 2/3, the whole thing's being taken to the negative 2/3. So you can pull it downstairs and make it positive, or you can distribute the negative 2/3 through. I'm probably going to distribute it through. So remember that this can come through to all these and you just multiply the exponents, right? So what it is I'm going to rewrite this as 125 to the negative 2/3. Then I have to take -6 times negative 2/3. If you don't know what that is, multiply it on your calculator, right? So -6 times negative 2/3, you're going to end up with 4. So I get x to the 4. And then y to the 15th times negative, so I do 15 times negative 2/3. If you don't know what it is, multiply it on your calculator. You get -10. Is that okay so far? Now it's looking better. Now 125 to the negative 2/3 is just a number, so I'm going to plug it in my calculator. So I get, oops, I need a fraction. I get 1/25. So all of that's just 1/25. X to the 4th, y to the -10. So I only have one thing left to do, right?
move
Yeah.
y to the -10 downstairs.
Yeah, move it downstairs. So what I'll do is I'll put x to the 4th on top, 25 is downstairs, and y to the 10th is downstairs. So we made a positive, we're done. Okay? You good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any of these others? Okay, the one thing I want to mention is the one thing that I know from experience. There's a difference here. The -3, this is where I'm talking about PEMDAS, because there's no parentheses in front of the 8 or in front of the x. The -3 only applies to the x. The only thing you move upstairs is the x. The 8 stays downstairs. So I would write this as x to the 3rd over 8. Is that all right? Okay, so don't forget about that kind of stuff. All right, because there's a big difference. This guy and this guy don't have the same answer because of the parentheses. Okay. All right. So that's that. All right. That's all I'm going to say there. Okay. Is that all right? So with exponents, okay, there's some left for you to practice. All right. The next thing after exponents, we did some basic equations solving for x. Okay. Do I need to go over of any of these, of A, B, or C? Do I need to go over any of these?
Could you go over B?
Sure. So when you have parentheses, when the first thing that draws my attention is parentheses, you need to distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 3 by the parentheses. So I get 6x minus 3 minus 10 equals 8 plus 5x. All right, so now the parentheses are gone. After you get rid of those, you collect like terms. So I see -3 and -10. That's -13. So my goal is to put x on one side and the numbers on everything else. I'm going to move the 5x over with the 6x. I'm going to subtract 5x. So I get x minus 13 equals 8. I'm almost done. I got to get rid of the 13 next to the x. So I add 13, right? And 8, 13 is 21, right? Okay. Now, to remind you guys, because the test is multiple choice, you know that I can just plug that answer back in and make sure it works, right? Then I know my answer's correct. You know what I'm talking about here, right? You can always work backwards. Okay, are we good with that? All right, I should mention some of these in here have, do you know the circumstance under which you get no real answer and all reals? Okay, so let's talk about that. I think it's on one of these, you end up with something like x minus 3 equals x plus 20. So when you end up with something like this is a contradiction, because if you subtract x off, you get -3 equals 20, right? Which you know is not true. Because it's a contradiction, that's a no solution. So if you end up with some kind of contradiction like 1 equals 2, it's a no solution, okay? If you end up with something like, if I ended up with x plus 3 equals x plus 3, if I have the same thing on both sides, that's always true, right? No matter what x is. So when you see something like that, the solution's all real numbers. Okay, all real numbers. All right. But remember, on multiple choice tests, you can also just plug the answers back in and make sure it works. Okay. All right. All right. Of D, E, or F, do I need to do any of those?
F, could you?
F, yeah, that's a good choice, right? That looks scary. It's got lots of parentheses, right? So with something like this, I'm going to work my way inside out. So I'm going to start with the inside parentheses and distribute the 3. All right. So I would leave this alone. I get 3x plus 3 here. That gets rid of the insides. Okay. So I'm looking at the square parentheses and I'm going, okay, well, I can combine like terms, so I might as well do that. 2x plus 3x is 5x. Okay, now this is the mistake that people make that I'm going to try and warn you about over and over again. There's a negative in front of that parenthesis. That negative does not just go to the 5. It must go to both of them because it's like a -1. You're multiplying it through. All right, so what you get is 6x minus 5x minus 3. Make sure that negative goes to the other sign. All right, and that equals x plus 20. And 6x minus 5x is x. This is the situation that we just talked about. So if I have x minus 3 equals x plus 20, I can move the x over, but what goes away, all the x's go away, and I get -3 equals 20. So that's that contradiction we're talking about. So that means no solution. All right? -3 never equals 20. Is that okay? All right, any questions about that? Are we okay? Okay. On this next set, some of the equations will have fractions in them, and my advice with fractions, I gave you a lot. I have no idea why I gave you this many. Is clear the common denominator by multiplying by the least common multiple. So I'm assuming I need to do one of these. Any particular preferences on which one I do?
You did D.
D or E?
D.
D. Okay, we'll do D. All right, and they all kind of work the same. So let me write the problem down. It's x plus 2 over 6 plus x plus 4 over 8 equals 9. Okay, and they all work the same way. I don't know why I gave you so many. I don't know. Fear, I guess. All right, so when you're working fractional problems, you got to get rid of the bottoms. And the way that you get rid of the bottoms is that you multiply by the least common multiple of the numbers on the bottom. So I look at 6 and 8. And I need a number that they both divide. So I need their least common multiple. So what's the number they both divide?
2.
Huh? Okay, 2 goes into both of them. That's the greatest common factor. I'm looking for the least common multiple. So I need a number bigger than 8. So I start with 8.
24?
24, yay, because 24, 8 goes into 24 3 times and 6 goes into 24 4 times. Right, so there it is, all right? So I'm gonna multiply every term in this equation by 24. The least common multiple. So I'm gonna multiply this guy by 24, I'm gonna multiply this guy by 24, and I'm gonna multiply this guy by 24, all right? Now, if I've done it right, all the fractions will clear because you divide it first. You do 24, you're gonna divide it by 6, right? So 24 divided by 6 is 4. So that becomes a 4. So it's 4 times x plus 2. And 24 divided by 8 is otherwise known as 3. And 9 times 24, I need a calculator for. I get 260. All right. So the point of multiplying by that least common multiple is to clear all the fractions. All right. Now we got something we can work with. All right. So first thing we're going to do is distribute this. So I get 4x plus 8. And then we got to do this one. So it's plus 3x plus 12 equals 216. Is that okay? Is that okay, guys? All right. So now we're going to collect like terms. 4x and 3x is 7x. 8 and 12 is 20. And that's 216. So now we're down to basic math, minus 20. I'm going to use my calculator. 216 minus 20. What is it?
28. Oh, no, not, sorry.
That's the answer, right? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
What do I get? I get 196, right? And if I divide by 7, right? I get 28. Okay? Is that all right? All right, is there any other of these I need to do for you? They're kind of all the same. Okay, we good? Everybody good? You good? Okay. All right, so solving equations, that was another thing. So besides that, we also worked with rational exponents. The word rational means fractions, right? We work with exponents that were fractions. So before I do any problems, let's recall what that means. If I have x to the m over n, remember that the m stays on the inside and the n is the index of the root. So it's the nth root of x to the m, okay? And it doesn't matter what you do first. You could do the nth root of x and then raise it to the m if you'd like to, okay? So these are your rational exponents. Remember, the index is just the power of the root, all right? And couple reminders, x to the 1/2 simply means the square root, right? And if I have x to the 1 over whatever, it's the nth root, right? So that the bottom number comes outside, the top number stays inside the root. All right, so when they asked me, sorry, when they asked me to write these in radical form, I'm just calling, a radical means this thing, right? Square root. Of course, you're gonna have multiple choice tests, so you'll know that. Excuse me. So if I want to write x to the 1/3, that's simply, you know, it's to the first power, it's the cube root, right? Okay, of these, what ones would you like me to do?
We do B.
B. Yeah, parentheses are important with radicals. Whatever's in the parenthesis is being taken to the power, so that's what goes under the radical, okay? So 2x is in parentheses, so I'm going to put that in the radical. And the top number is the power, so I'm going to square it, and the 5 is the root, right? The 5 comes outside. And you need to square the 2 and the x, so that's going to be, 4x squared on the inside. I'm taking the 5th root of it, okay? All right. Do I need to do C or D?
Could you do D?
Sure. So with D, the whole thing's in parentheses, so that goes under the radical. Now, the negative, we've got to get rid of negative exponents. So first I'm going to get rid of that. So this is 1 over 4y to the 1/2. See, I got rid of it. Now it's much easier to work with. The 1/2 means the square root. So it's simply 1 over the square root of 4y. That's what it is, right? And they might take this. I don't know if they take the square root of 4 out of it. I mean, they could also take the square root of 4 out as 2, but I don't know if they'll do that. Okay. Okay. So that's writing things as radicals. Okay. All right. Then we need to be able to go the other way, write with positive, meaning no negative, rational, that's fractional, fractions, exponents. Okay. So now I'm going the other way. So for let's do part A. So 6x is under the radical. Whatever under the radical is going in parentheses. So it's 1 over 6x. Oh, I'm taking the square root, right? So the square root is, so the 3 goes on the top and the square root would be a 2 on the bottom, right? Because it's a square root. And that's it. Okay. Is that all right? All right, is there any of these other ones I need to do, B, C, or D? Anything else? All right, I'll take that as a no. Okay. All
Can you
right,
have C?
B, did you say B or D?
C as in cat.
I just, oh, C, I didn't do C, okay. So C, I'm not gonna flip it because they want positive exponents. So pretty much all I have to do is the 7 is the power, so this is being taken to the 7th, and the 4 is the denominator, so it's 1/n to the 7 fourths. Okay, is that right? We good? Okay. All right, so that's another thing that we did. Okay. All right. We good? All right, that's good. I'm gonna change that color out, like the red. All right, all right. I gave you some more practice. This is the same type of things, writing them in radicals. Do I need to go over any? And actually 8 was the same. They're the same. I don't know why I did that. Are there any of these you want me to go over? 1 through 8.
What about 8?
Sorry, what?
Could we do 8?
8, sure. So if I want to write it in positive and exponential form, so remember the square root, the 5a goes in parentheses, anything in the radical, put in parentheses, the square root means raise it to the 1/2. So that's all I have to do. Okay, all right? All right. So with the numbers, this is kind of a dumb thing. You may not see them on the test. I mean, because why would I bother with anything else? I can plug it in the calculator, right? So, I mean, I could do 8 to the 2/3 quite easily by taking my calculator and typing 8 and raising it to the 2/3. Guess what? It's 4, okay? Now, just to show you the by hand way, just for culture AS. So remember the bottom, I suggest doing the root first and then the power. So this means basically take the cube root of 8 and take it to a second power. That's what it means, right? So the cube root of 8, you have to ask yourself, that's 3. So what number times itself 3 times is 8? 2, yay. Okay, so this is the same thing as 2 squared, and 2 times 2 is 4. So you can do it by hand, but remember you've got that calculator, so working with numbers, pretty straightforward. All right, is that all right? All right, so I've got some more exponent problems on 13 through 16, all right? The exponent rules still hold, it's just that now they're fractions, all right? That makes it scarier, but you got the calculator. Of 13 through 16, which ones would you like me to go over?
Can we do 15?
Sure, let's do 15, all right. So 15, what I would do is that's an exponent, so that can just distribute through, so you multiply them. So this is 1/2 times -1 is -1/2, and 1/2 times -1 is b to the -1/2. But we don't like negative exponents, right? So all we have to do is put them down on the bottom. Make them positive, okay? Another way to think about it, if I raise something to -1, I just flip it. All right. Remember, anything to the 0 power, no matter how scary, is 1. Okay? All right, we good? All right. That's part 1. All right, so let's go look at part 2. Okay, and we'll take a look at that. Now, the other thing that we started off, we learned how to multiply polynomials by doing FOIL or the box. This one would be, remember with this one, do not, this is for me the one that scares me is part B, just out of experience. You don't just square both of those, right? That means 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 5, and then you would FOIL it. Yes, you guys. So do I need to go over A or B?
We could do B.
Let's finish B. All right. So I want you to understand, you don't just make it 4c squared minus 25. Don't do it, right? You got to do FOIL. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply the first. So FOIL, remember FOIL first, outside, inside, last. So the first 2x times 2x, 4x squared, outsides, negative 10x. Insides is negative 10x. And last, negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25, right? So now I've multiplied everything. I'm going to collect the like terms in the middle here. Negative 10x and negative 10x is negative 20x, right? And now I've got it multiplied. Okay? Is that all right? All right, so you should be able to multiply polynomials. Right? Now, these equation of line things, there are multiple ways to do them. I use the calculator, so I'm going to show you, remind you how to do this on the calculator. I think it's the easiest way to go. If you have 2 points, you can always use your calculator to get the equation of the line. So we're going to go through these because you probably need me to. All right. So I want the equation of line between those 2 points. So what I'm going to do on my calculator, I'm going to press Stat button and edit. Stat, edit, enter. Okay. I'm going to put the points in L1 and L2. So the X is going L1, the Y is going L2. So -1, 3. I'm just going to type it. I had something else in there. -1 and the Y is 3. Just overwrites them. And the other one is 4, 8. Go up, and I'm going to type 8. Okay. All right, any questions on how to get those in the calculator? Okay. Once you have them in the calculator, you hit quit. So you hit second and then quit.
Professor, do I just hit lists and spreadsheets if I have an Inspire?
You have Inspire, yes. I just went through this with another, I don't have an Inspire that I can show you. There's, if you do a video search on Inspire for linear regression, and you're going to make a spreadsheet, you're going to call the X column something, the Y column something, enter the points, and then you're going to go to Stat and do the linear regression, okay? But go to Google and search linear regression on the Inspire. I found a nice video that way. There's about a 3-minute one, the second one that comes up. Okay. Where am I? Oh yeah, so I got them. I got the points in there, and now I'm going to go to Stat. I'm going to go over to Calculate, C-A-L-C, and number 4 is LinReg. On Inspire, it's 3. So I'm going to press number 4, go down and press Enter. Whoops. Enter. You'll see it should have L1 and L2 here by default. And you're going to go Calculate and press Enter. All right, so there's the equation of my line. I see that A is 1 and B is 4. So the equation of this line would be Y equals 1x plus 4, right? Or x plus 4. Okay, is that all right? Okay. Now, when they give you a point and a slope, some people were mentioning they like doing this by hand. If you want to, you can do point slope form and plug in the point and the slope, but there's no reason to really do that. Remember, when you have a calculator, you have 1 point and the slope, you can get another point. So the way that you do this on a calculator, you have the point 1, 2. The slope is -2/3. Remember, the slope is defined as the change in Y over the change in X. So we can use that to find another point, all right? So this tells me that Y goes down 2, so I'm going to subtract 2 from Y, and X goes up 3. So if I take that point, let's see, 1 plus 3 is 4, and 2 and -2 is 0. So now I have 2 points I can plug in the calculator, right? And I can just do LinReg. Okay. Do I need to go through the LinReg again with y'all?
Can we plot those points? Just real quick? Like,
You want to plot them?
Yeah, or like, no, like I'm saying, like, we go through the.
Oh, yeah, sure. All right, he wants to. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to Stat. We're going to go Stat, Edit. And we're going to put the points in L1 and L2. So it's the point 1, 2. I just enter it. See how it overwrites it when I enter it. And 4, 0. All right, so the points are in there, and then I just quit, hit second quit, and I go to Stat. I go over to Calculate, CALC, and I pick number 4, and go down to Calculate. Press Enter. All right, so these come out as decimals. Now, if you want the fraction version of them, so if I wanted to know what -0.66666 was as a fraction, if I didn't know, on your calculator, a way to do that is type -0.66666 all the way across the screen. You need a whole bunch of decimal places. And then if you hit math frac, it's -2/3. All right, so you can convert things like that. So I get negative 2/3, and the other number on there, I forgot what it was. I'll just go calculate it again. It's 2.6666. So if I wanted that as a fraction, I enter 2 point with a bunch of sixes across. Plenty of hit math frac. And there it is 8/3. Okay, so if you want to convert them to fractions, you can. All right, is that all right? Yeah. All right. So another thing you might have to do on this test is set up a couple of word problems. You're not going to solve them, you're just going to set them up. All right. So, and I put one on there twice because that's the thing that seems to bug people. Let X represent the number of dimes and Y represent the number of quarters. All right, I just want to set them up. John has twice as many dimes as quarters, so X is dime and Y is quarters. Here's the question. If I have twice as many, does the 2 go by the X or does the 2 go by the Y?
X.
Okay, so we have some disagreement. All right, so if we put it by the X, let's say we did. All right, let's check that. So if I have 4 dimes, right, 2 times 4, oh no, that's not right. If I have 4 quarters, right, what would X have to be to get 4? It would have to be 2, right? So do I have twice as many dimes as quarters here? I had 2 dimes and 4 quarters. That's wrong, right? So I know it's wrong. The 2 has to go with the Y. The word twice can be very deceiving. And I want you to be aware of it. So actually the 2 goes with the Y. All right? Because you're multiplying the number of quarters you have by 2 to get the number of dimes, right? Okay, so be careful with the word twice. All right, so it should be X equals 2Y. All right, so the value, when they ask you for the value of money, make sure you use the value of the money. Here. So you want to make sure you use the value. So the dimes are worth 10 cents and the quarters are worth 25 cents, right? It's not X plus Y is $2.15, right? We have to put their value in there. So if I want the value, it'd be 0.1X plus 0.25Y equals $2.15, right? Is that okay? All right, so here's the intervals of increase and decrease. On the test, it's very clear. I talked to you about square and round brackets with like at 0, I would have that problem, but in the test, it's very clear. All right, so let's see if you guys remember, where's it constant? Let's start with that one first, because that's easy. 1 to 2, so I'm going to put 1, 2. 1 gets what kind of bracket? Square or round?
Square.
Huh?
Round then square?
Circle, right? Open circles get round brackets, as does infinities, and closed circles get square brackets, right? Okay. And then so 2 is going to be a closed bracket because there's a closed circle there, right? One of the things I saw when I was looking at one of the discussion posts, like when you do, I don't think I have the intervals on there. I should have some, but when you do X is less than 2. All right. By the way, less than makes an L, right? I mean, people, when I'm saying this, you have to be really careful. This is correct, right? It says X is between 2 and 4. X is bigger than 2 and less than 4. The alligator opens the bigger number. This is not correct. What do they do? You know when I'm going this way, right? Because that says X is less than 2 and X is greater than 4, but you don't put that into a statement like that. They would say that X is less than 2 or X is greater than 4. All right, so this is less than. The way that I remember it, it's kind of a tilted L. All right. But if I wanted to write bracket notation for this, so one of the things I would suggest is using a number line. Here's the number 2. And if it's less than 2, I'm going this way, right? So I know that I start at negative infinity, I go to 2. I don't go from 2 to negative infinity, I go from negative infinity to 2. The lowest number must come first. So it goes from negative infinity to 2, and those are both round brackets, right? So make sure you put the lower number first. If I put from 2 to negative infinity, that would be wrong because the lower number is not first. Okay. All right, I saw that. All right, so just remember with this is less than, and this is what's greater than. This is less, this way, it's greater than. But you know, go back to elementary school, that alligator opens into the biggest number. That's the way I remember, I still remember it that way. All right, I mean, this, looking at this, x is bigger than 2. Okay. All right. So I got off track. Okay, so we got the constant. All right, let's do decrease. Where's it going down? -0.
Oh, wait, no,
Okay, so graph. All right, it's going down. It's falling right here. It's falling until I get to here, right? It goes up again. So how do I write that interval?
Infinity to -0.
Okay, infinity to 0, we just write 0. -0 is interesting, that's a calculus concept. All right, so negative infinity has a round bracket. 0, I put a round, some people put a square on the test, you won't have a choice. It'll be obvious, okay? All right, that's the only place it's going down, so where's it going up now?
0 to 1
0 to 1, okay, 1, what kind of bracket? Square or round?
square.
And where else? Is it going up?
2 to infinity.
Infinity, and infinity always has a round bracket, and 2 is going to have a round because of that open circle, right? And remember, we put a union in between those guys. We have more than one interval. Okay, is that right? We good? Okay. So the last thing we need to talk about is factoring. All right. Whenever you factor, the first thing you must always do is take out the common factor. All right. So I just have some common factor problems. So, you know, if I look at these, you guys tell me what's the greatest common factor. What you do, look at the numbers first. What goes into 2, 6, and 8?
2.
2, and then you look at the x's and you take out the smallest power of x they share, which would be x, right? Yes. And then the y, they don't share the y, so we don't write it. That's the common factor. All right, do I need to do the next one? Yes, no? Nope. Okay, I'll let you guys do that one. All right.
Could you? I'm sorry. I was writing on the other one.
All right, so look at the numbers. What goes into 10 and 170? What's the biggest number? 10. So that's the numbers. So look at the x's. You have x, x squared, and x to the 4th. So you want to take the smallest power of x out, which is just little old x, right? Now look at the y's. I have y cubed, y, and y to the 5th. What's the smallest power of y? Y. So that would be my common factor, 10xy. All right. All right. Okay, factoring. So I'm going to test it the way that I wrote this problem so you can understand. I want you to be able to factor and not have to just multiply everything together. So I test it this way. So this is what the test problems will look like. 1 factor of x squared minus 9. This is a multiple choice question, is one of those, all right? So by giving you only one of the factors, you have to factor. You can't just multiply. So x squared minus 9, it factors, it's a difference of squares. It factors x minus 3, x plus 3, right? If I need my difference of squares. So then I would just go and compare, all right, which one of these factors do I have? I have that one in my answer choices, all right? So you see, I tested as a multiple choice question. Okay, so let's talk about the basics of factoring for you guys. All right, whenever you factor, step 1, take out the greatest common factor if there is one. It's gonna make your life easier by a long shot, okay? Step 2, look at the number of terms. If you have 2 terms, you really only have one option at this point, which is a difference of squares. Look for a difference of squares. So remember, if I have x squared minus a squared, just take the square roots. It's x minus a, x plus a, right? That is the only thing that factors. The sum of squares will not factor, right? If I have x squared plus a squared, it is prime, all right? It's the only option I have with 2 terms. All right, if I have 3 terms, I'm going to have something like this. And remember, I multiply these guys together and I find factors of whatever that add to whatever, right? That's my 3-term factoring strategy, okay? So we're going to work through the different types of factoring questions, all right? But expect the questions to be worded like this guy. All right, so let's take a look at these. Which one of these do you want me to go through? There's some I know I want to go through. Which ones do you want me to go through?
J.
J. Oh, you went right for the killer. All right. That's 3 terms, right? So I know I'm going to be doing my factors of so-and-so that add to so-and-so. But how excited are you in multiplying negative 35 times 49? Are you excited about doing that? No, it tells you, what this tells you when this happens is there's probably a common factor I can take out. Take it out first to make your life easier. So look at all 3 terms. Is there a number that goes into all 3 of those numbers?
7.
7. So we're going to take it out, which means I'm going to divide them all by it first. So I'm going to end up with 7x squared plus 2x minus 5, right? Now it looks a lot easier, all right? So take out the common factor first. I always look for that when I factor. That's the first thing I do. It's easy to forget about. So now we have 3 terms. So we're going to do our little kill the common factor. So I'm going to multiply 7 times negative 5, which is negative 35. I want factors of negative 35 that add to 2. What are they?
7.
Huh?
7 and negative 5.
Good. 7 and negative 5. Now remember, if you have trouble with factors, pull your calculator up and do the number you want factors of. I want factors of negative 35. So I type negative 35 divided by x. Always divide by x. Then go to your table. So hit second table. And there's a list of all your factors. So I look at negative 1 and 35, 1 and negative 35. If I go down here, 7 and negative 5 right here, right? That adds to 2. All right. So I've got my factors. All right. So if you struggle with factors because you weren't that great at your multiplication tables, use the trick. All right, so I got the factors. So remember with this, it's kill the common factor. So step 1 is copy the lead term. Step 2, kill the common factor. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my 2 sets of parentheses. The lead term is 7. So I copy that to the front, right? Then I write my factors down. My factors are plus 7 and minus 5, right? So I copied the 7 and I wrote down the factors. Okay, so my last step is to kill the common factors, all right? So I look at this, is there any common factors I can take out of 7x plus 7?
7.
7, so I'm going to divide both of these by 7 and kill it. So I don't put it out, it's left with x plus 1, right, would be that guy. Is there a common factor to 7x minus 5? Is there any number you can take out of both? No. So you're going to leave it alone. Right? And there's your answer. Okay. So step 1, take out the greatest common factor. In 3 terms, do your little umbrella thing and copy and kill. That's how I remember it. Copy, kill. All right. Any of these other ones I need to go through for y'all? Anything? You're good? You guys are good? Okay, you got your practice, you got the key, right? So you got all these things you can practice, all right? So the bottom line here, so what have we done? We've done factoring, right? We've done Intervals of increase and decrease with interval notation. Should feel comfortable with that. We're a little set up with word problems. You've done multiplying polynomials, equations of lines. On part 1, we did exponents, we did radicals, right? We did negative exponents. What else did we do? There's something else. Exponents, radicals. I think that's it.
Fractions and the
All
decimal.
the equations, right, with fractions and converting between percents and decimals, right? Okay. All right, so that's the bottom line. That's what's on your test. If you can do this review, you can do your test. All right. Test is easier because it's multiple choice. Okay. You get one choice, you get one chance on the test, 21 questions, 90 minutes. It will not take you 90 minutes, but okay. All right. Any questions about anything?
Are we good to go, Professor?
Yeah, you're good. I mean, unless you guys have any questions, you're good. All right. Good luck on your test on Friday.
Hey, I do have one question. My homework for week 2,
Yeah.
I did the whole, I did like a few days in advance, but it like took off a 30% reduction for being late, and I don't know why. But I mean, I did it. It shows I accessed it.
Here, let me see what we got.
Right here.
Oh, that's my fault.
It's okay. I assumed it might have
Yeah.
been something that messed up. with
So
the
what happened was, all right, the 2.4 link wasn't working. So I told the girl, okay, I'll back the data up, but then what it did,
Is it said it was like?
yeah, because it, yeah, so I need to fix that. I'll fix it. That's a setting I need to fix.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. As long as just want to make
Yes,
sure.
that's
so I
why.
didn't lose it.
No, that's, I know why that happened. I've done it before too. It's a setting that I need to change.
I assumed it was something like that. I figured it
Yeah.
wasn't honestly a very big deal, but I just figured
Yeah,
I'd show you now rather than later.
no, and I know the problem, and I'm trying to remember how to fix it, because it's not,
Not easy.
yeah, you know what, she's gonna come in the last.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
All right,
All right.
see ya.
Have a good one.
All right, you too.